So what we're making today is an oval wire, 2 millimeters high, 3.5 millimeters wide, with a stamped message written backwards and the bangle then twisted. So, fun project. I'm going to make another bangle, but I'm going to have a little bit of fun with this one because I'm using oval wire again because it's easy to stamp the letters on, but I'm going to put my message backwards and then I'm going to twist it just for fun. So when you're stamping, what you need to do is make sure that your stamp is in the correct position. Hit it firmly and use either a chasing hammer or a ball peen hammer. Or a cross peen hammer. It doesn't matter what the face looks like, but you don't want it nice and shiny. Now, this is half hard, which means it'll take the impression quite easily. If your metal is hard, it won't take an impression when you're trying, well, it'll take an impression, but it won't take a very deep one. So make sure that your metal is annealed or at least half hard. And what you want is you want to get your length first, your rough length, so that you know that you'll be able to put your message on your bangle without damaging the end when you go to solder it and sand it back. Aha! So when you're heating your metal, don't just heat it straight down. Start at an angle and heat that way so that this is red and it preheats as you go. So once it's up to the proper color, quench it, pickle it, and we'll twist it. So put your stamps away. You can see how many I've used. It would be nice if they were in alphabetical order, but I usually can't be bothered. I'm putting my wire in my jeweler's vise because I don't want to damage the end. The vise doesn't have any teeth. And if you want to twist your wire accurately, you can use your parallel jaw pliers and just slide the metal right down in. And I'm going to do that and slip it out a little bit more. Do that, add a little more. This is just so that I can do this without putting marks in my wire, because it's difficult enough to make things without having to take the marks out. So we need to get this, so that's straight up and down. We make this straight up and down, will be good. Now we need to file the ends flat and form this around. So that's the idea, a nice easy spiral. And we're ready to solder it. So file the ends nice and flat, and I just hold the metal vertical. Use my number 2 cut flat hand file. Don't let your file curve as you're filing. Make sure it stays flat. And that way you'll have a lovely join when you're ready to solder it. Now, I'm just going to form this with my fingers and flat round pliers because it doesn't need to be round at this point. And, you know, it may be a bit wobbly. Doesn't matter, as long as these ends fit perfectly. And you can see that they don't. So just grab this with your parallel jaw pliers, and that way you won't damage the metal. And twist, push, pull, do whatever you need to do to get this so that it holds itself together and it's as perfect as you can get it. Now you can see I've got my joint down. Stir up your flux, cover the joint, and I'm going to use one piece of hard solder. That's about 5 mil long because it's a fairly large join, and I want to make sure that it's filled. So just dry out the flux, pick up your solder, heat your pick, bring it down, touch your solder. It'll turn into a ball and stick on the pick if it's a tungsten pick. So heat your join, and you can see that I'm just holding my solder above for the moment. Now the flux has gone clear, and I've lowered my solder down to touch the join. It came off the solder pick, which is what I'd like. And very nice. And I go back to the other side just to make sure that it's run all the way through, the solder's run all the way through. And then more often than not, I will anneal the piece while it's still here, because you've already annealed the bottom, and you just have to anneal the top. Quench it and pickle it. Once you're out of the pickle, dry off your piece. Look at your solder join. You want to make sure that there are no ugly gaps. Round it up before you start trying to tidy up the join. And bracelet mandrel. It's kind of difficult to do this without one, but they're relatively inexpensive. So just use your rawhide. Flip it over. And we want to keep our nice little twist, but we also want to take the potato chip out of it. So on your wooden block, use your rawhide hammer to hit it sideways until you get it nice and flat. Now take your sanding stick, flat sanding stick, 400 grade paper. Follow the curve of your bracelet. And when you get to the point where you can't see any more solder, That's what you want. If you have a big solder bump, you can use your file to file it down a bit in the beginning. Just be careful you don't go too far. And do the edges and the inside. If you have a bump on the inside, use your half-round ring file, number 2 cut. Scrub across the join, being fairly gentle, because all you want to do is smooth out the solder. You can use it on the side also. And then I use my split mandrel and 400 grade paper to go over it. When you're putting the paper in your split mandrel, let it stick through about 10 mil, and you want the abrasive up because it turns this way. And when you're using this on your metal, always make sure that you keep it moving, because if you go too slow, if you don't keep it moving, what will happen is you'll wear grooves in the metal, and you don't want that. You just want the metal nice and smooth. So have a really good look. Make sure you don't see any file marks. And then you can go to 800 grade paper, or you can just go straight onto your Tripoli wheel. The Tripoli will smooth out the scratches of the 400 grade paper. So that's a reasonable join. I'm happy with that, and I'm ready to polish it. And when you're wearing it and people look at it, they say, oh, what does it say? And it's not something that you'd be able to tell quickly because it is backwards. So it's just a little bit of fun. Now, if you made this too small, you can't stretch it, because if you hammer it up to stretch it, you're going to lose your curve and you'll hammer out your message. So what you'd need to do is anneal it so that it doesn't spring apart, saw it, and you just run it down your bracelet mandrel until it's the right size. Then you can measure the gap that you need, cut it, and solder it in and finish it. If it's too big, it's quite easy. You just cut it, overlap itself to the proper point on the mandrel. I have a couple of marks on mine where I know what the sizes are, and then you would cut it and solder it. Easy peasy.